I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Great, great. I really appreciate the time to talk to you today. I know we only have 5 minutes, so I'll just jump right into it.
Yes.
The Damned, I wasn't sure what to expect going into it, but I ended up absolutely loving this movie. Now I'm a sucker for atmospheric films, and I think there's a real lack of Norse like type film coming from that area, so it hit a
Mm.
number of buttons for me, but you really nailed the atmospheric element of it. Can you tell me a little bit about like other than just lighting, like what do you shoot for when you're trying to establish a mood with a scene?
It's interesting, like when you're talking about mood or mise en scène or whatever those kinds of elements that are coming from multiple directions. You're talking about the visual side, you're talking about the audio, the music, and I think I was just very lucky with the collaborators I was working with,
Mhm.
But on set, when you're shooting in Iceland, at least for me, shooting in the West Fjords, the beautiful landscape, it's not only beautiful, but it's also very dangerous. And I
Mhm.
think when you have those two things together, the beauty and the danger, um, and to be kind of, I believe, in Iceland, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah.
It's almost like alien in a way
Yeah.
because you do not want to get lost there. But to answer your question about the mood, it's very interesting. It's so difficult to pinpoint as a director how you came to a mood because you're just constantly cooking. You're
Uh-huh.
working with different kinds of ingredients. So, but I think it's just the collaborators that I was working with. But I think in the end, if you don't have a good script, you don't have anything. And I was very, very, very lucky to be working with Jamie Hannigan, the screenwriter, on this project.
Mhm. Now you originated the story for this, though, right?
Yeah, I wrote the original story, the treatment, and I was living in a seaside village in Iceland, kind of not living what these characters were going through, but I'm a
Mhm.
city boy, and I went to this little town, and I got snowed in for the winter. Not the
Oh yeah.
whole winter, but enough. And my car got stuck. I was kind of, I didn't know anyone there, and so that's where I started writing the initial story, but it comes from, old mythology around the Draugur. It has to do with Icelandic history. There was actually a real incident that happened back in the day where a ship sank off our shores, and it was
Mhm.
people from the Basque region of Spain. They survived. They swam to shore, and all these Icelanders were there. And they're like, "Oh, you're here to help us." They killed all of them but one, and
Oh
that's how
wow.
we know the story. The
Yeah.
one of them survived, and that's how he told the tale. So you have these different elements, like I talked about, the ingredients, and then once the question of morality, when you see foreigners drowning in the ocean, and yes, you are uh, running low on rations, you're snowed in for the winter. Do we go out and save these poor foreigners drowning, or do we take care of our own instead? And I thought once that question was there, I felt it was a story worth telling. Something there was some juice there.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest surprise for me, just how deep the morality of it all went, and I think that was its biggest strength, its biggest fear-inducing moment, is you kind of look at
Mm.
yourself and say, I probably wouldn't do the quote unquote nice thing either in that
Yeah.
situation. But um, the other question I had, and we only have like a minute left at this point, but you mentioned the Droger. What of all the crazy, boundless Norse mythology and Norse storytelling that's out there, what is your bucket list item that you want to put on screen, or is there even?
Well, I think like the hidden people is very interesting. These people that come and they live in these rocks. They're very scary. There can even be a very an ecological aspect to it of they protect the land.
Right.
Uh, so I think if you look up the hidden people when you're looking up Icelandic or Norse stories, um, that's something I think would be a really interesting film. And by the way, I love your background. My
Thank you.
my grandparents owned a video store, and I
Yeah.
grew up in a video store. Like my childhood was just me going to my grandparents' video store and taking out as many VHS as I wanted. And they just had one rule that was no new films. We got to rent them out. But
Right.
all the old ones. So my childhood was just picking random films that had a nice cover because
Oh
I wasn't
man.
really reading what it was, and just filling up a big bag. I was sometimes taking 9 VHSs into the weekend. You know.
I would have dreamed of having that when I was a kid. And I love that you mentioned the covers because that's the one thing that you can't get on streaming. That was always the biggest thing about the video store experiences, the covers.
Yes.
I can still remember like a handful of covers that really jumped out. And
Yes.
they don't really do it that much anymore. But I know we got to wrap up. Thor, I really appreciate your time. And the movie was great. We'll spread the word and best of luck to you.
Thank you. So nice to meet you, man.
You too. Have a good day.